By the way, I think Pablo Gracia was last week in this time use conference that they organized in Barcelona. So was Santiago Staun in this conference, and I think he was very clear when he was explaining also that the studies what they have done, and Santiago can correct me if I'm wrong, that they have seen that more than 4 hours of concentration was impossible to achieve in children. So you can really make things longer. And probably when we compare also some models of what we say compact school time in Europe, probably we are referring to less hours. So because there is a difference whether you keep the kids 3 hours, 3 hours and a half, or 4 hours, or you keep them up to 5 hours. No? And this is something also that well, people like me who are also teaching in the teachers faculty, and we also visit the schools, we see often that at the end of the morning, very much especially in early childhood, they are maybe also just waiting for the time to leave, no? And just watching some videos in the screen or something just to make the time up to leave. And I think we should break also this idea that we have to be doing in the school settings everything at everybody at the same. No, we used to have these 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, or 3 hours for break for lunch, and then everybody was coming out at the same hour and then waiting for the time to enter if they didn't fit everybody into the lunch place. Maybe more reasonable that the smaller kids finish at 12 and they go for lunch, and then the others finish at 12:30 for 1 and they go for lunch, and they don't have to be waiting for the others. No? But this idea somehow is a bit difficult. No, it's more seems to me that there is a tendency to rule the schools by the bell, and I think we should look better to this black box, as we call it. Anna, please go ahead.
Yeah, just to finish, is something we haven't mentioned, but part of the project and the idea of Daniel was also being able to measure or at least register what was going on during the class time and how this time of school was being distributed, as I said in the beginning. And again, I'm going to bring it to what I like the most, which is early childhood. But here we can think in the for instance, in the importance of play in Spain. In our countries, playtime would be, I would say, part of the time or almost all the time for early childhood in early childhood education, or at least for very, very small children until 3 or 4, because it's true that we have in many other countries preschool, which is when they're 5 or 6, the preschool class, and it's together with primary, and then they start already doing this rhythm and this schedule as the rest of primary education students. But in terms of, for instance, how the time of play is being distributed in early childhood in Spain, again, we see that if we will go to the curriculum and also the way to instruct and the time to instruct, we will find that children should learn through play, but the time to play is only the same time to eat when they have the break. And as Daniel was saying now, we know that the rest of the time is going to be useless if we want it for a pedagogical purpose and for learning systematically certain things, as I don't know, learning to read or learning to do calculations, etc., etc. So just for the fact that they are in the same building and following the same schedule, we force them to also a type of instruction that is preschoolarization more than early childhood education itself, because play doesn't have any space unless the professional decides that everything is going to be through play. But otherwise, children could be also spending all these hours sitting down while they're 3 or 4 year old, which is the opposite of what I was saying, moving all the time. So this is also an imbalance that need to be considered. And something we were also thinking, and Daniel was pointing out from the project, is to be able to see what is being done during this instructional time, which type of activities and to what was leading that, because I think that's also crucial to understand and to manage the time in a more or less efficient way. Just that, because we didn't put it into the table, but I think it was also in our ideas.
Thank you, Anna. I also wanted to tell that tomorrow we will have the presentations by Ulla Stern and Joni Kalo from Finland, and they will also tell us how this shorter time what the children in Finland spend in the school is so much different from the time what they spend, for instance, in Spanish schools, mostly. And one thing I have forgot to say before is like it's very important that the rest, the sleeping time of children. It is very important food time, feeding time, and the quality of the food. But it's also very important motion, movement, and the ability, what also Anna was saying, allow them to move, allow them also to exercise. And this is something also that they will tell us tomorrow very nicely from experience in Finland, where they are working very, very much on it. No? The idea that you have to, every lesson of 45 minutes or hour and a half, you have to go out, you have to stretch your leg, maybe you have games and you have other activities to do, no? That help also very much to be active, no? Because there is a connection between body and mind, of course. And maybe somebody else wanted to ask some question. If not, I will make one. I don't see anybody. Okay, then I will make one because I wanted to see one of the things what Pablo mentioned that caught my attention was that everybody sleeps in average the same in all the 3 countries. And especially, of course, we are different from the UK, but we are supposed to be in the same time zone in the sun, but we have a different hour. No? Clock hour is different, and I would have expected that we have that this affects also the sleeping. No? That people in Spain would tend to go to bed later because our natural daylight is switched. No? But you don't find this affecting in the sleeping.
No, thanks a lot, Daniel. Yes, indeed. I mean, we were expecting to find some differences in sleeping. We didn't. So bear in mind that we are looking at children aged 10, 17. So in line of what you have been mentioning now, it could be really interesting. I don't know if there is. Well, you were talking before, Daniel, about how the types of schooling can affect sleeping, and actually it was really interesting what you were mentioning. I would like to know more about this research that you are doing, and I think that it would be also interesting to look more at early childhood. So it might be the case that maybe, for example, as you were mentioning, the fact that children, I think they start at 9, but they spend quite a lot of hours. So it could be really interesting to know also differences by socioeconomic status. So I haven't really talked much about social inequalities, but that's a really important topic. Families differ quite a lot in their resources. We know that parents with more disadvantaged resources, they have less abilities to control their schedules, they have less work autonomy, and this also puts them into more pressure. So if you are a parent from a working class or a poor background, you are more likely to have difficulties to orchestrate your children's daily time. There are also issues of family structure, for example. So we know that single parents who tend to be single mothers also have difficulties because they have time constraints. And these kind of issues are really, really important when we are talking about time use. So it could be that the average time, and here I will conclude, the average time is the same. Cross-national variations, at least when we look at Spain, Finland, and UK, are flat, but it could be that within country, characteristics matter, and also age. It could be that maybe single mothers have more problems of sleeping, which I think is consistent with some literature. It could be that for younger children, there are more things going on. It could be that there are socioeconomic differences, for example. But this is really interesting, and following from that, I would be really interested in seeing if there have been also some changes in schedules. Because after this very interesting Barcelona Time Use Week meetings last week, so I was thinking whether we have enough variation in Spain to measure that. So I would be really interested in knowing whether there is some time use data that has happened, consistent with some changes in schedules. I would be really interested in knowing if that's possible. But I don't know. I mean, and finally, my final point, and here I shut up, is that I totally agree with Anna and you, Daniel, that we need to see what's happening inside the school. And this is something for what you need more qualitative data. or survey data that are collected for what's happening in the school, because the time diary data that we have are very rich, but if you look at what happens inside the school, there is no information. So we need more in-depth analysis of what's happening inside the school. Yeah, thanks.
Inside the school, and Yafeng tomorrow morning will tell us also what is happening inside the brain of the students, which is also an amazing topic, which is very much connected with all what our interest is about. There is the hand of Julia, please.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask whether you know at what time the schools were starting in the different countries, because you showed the data about the sleep duration, but not about sleep timing. I could imagine that maybe in Spain schools were starting later, and that's why students were sleeping the same amount of time.
Sorry, I was saying, sorry that I was muted, that I'm here at my home, which has become my office. I will not have time to find, maybe I do actually. So here I'm looking at my colleague Juan's, the poster that we prepared for the, no, I cannot find it. So what we did was to do like this very interesting time diaries where you can look when children start. So I can maybe share it with you, because we did this nice poster where you see that in Spain indeed things happen later. But I don't remember exactly about your exact question. So let me maybe check that, and I will let you know. So I don't know if the starting time differs, but I think that here in the audience there are people who know more about it than me.
And in general, I agree with what you said about individual differences in the families, because we know, for example, socioeconomic status is also very important for sleep. And there are studies showing that children from families with a low socioeconomic status also have shorter sleep duration or worse sleep quality in general. And one can imagine why that should be the case, because maybe there are more people sleeping in the same room, the house is not isolated, and all kind of things. So that's also very important. There could be very strong inter-individual differences in the same country.
Sure. There is, I wanted to see, yeah, this was asking Anna to put this slide. This is something that I try to construct with the information that comes from European sources. And this is something that we could try to do much better with time use data. Exactly what is the time of children. But if you can see this graph, if we can make it a bit bigger, then you will see that by each country, what I try to put there is what time they enter. This will be the black line is what is compulsory. No? Everybody, the minimum time of the school day, right? And then when it's gray, lighter gray or darker gray, means that according to age, they can extend over this period. So in those countries where in an older age, they go to school longer hours, they would be marked here. Okay, those countries like in Spain, which I believe is the first one, you have the same hours for everybody, and then you have extracurricular activities, which is the very light gray. And then the green is the time where you have the break for lunch. And you can see that there is also some systems like the Spanish one, which is called the Escuela Matinera, or school, morning school, which is for conciliation of families who have to enter to work earlier, and they can drop the kid maybe 1 hour or hour and a half before the actual school time starts, right? This is also this gray color what you have at the bottom of the graph in some countries. But here you could see, no, there are different countries who really have a different starting time. No, you can see Belgium starts around 8:30, Czech Republic at 8, France, Ireland, and I don't read very well, Lithuania, they start at 9. So this officially we could more or less get it from this international data. But of course, would be also good to know actually when do kids, wake up, and for this we need a survey, right? Because this will tell us when is the official starting time, but we don't know whether they get late to school or they get earlier, or what time they have to wake up also to make it to the school, right? Which would be also something interesting from this sleep perspective. Thank you, Anna.
You're welcome. One last question, Pablo. When you were asking children in this time after school that they were dedicating to also education, is it their homework, or you were also asking for any other activities, extracurricular activities? You know that in Spain we have them still like an extension of the school, like Daniel was saying. Or is it just about homework?
Yes, very good question. When we're looking at educational activities, we were essentially putting all the activities, educational activities together, such as reading, homework, and cultural activities, and so on, extracurricular activities that happen outside school. So actually, we could look at whether the child reported being at school or not, and that was actually the defining criteria of whether it was educational activities or not, because they were within school, right? The problem of time-diary data, even if that these types of data are really powerful to look at, statistical sources of time use for a representative sample, the problem is that we only have 1 or 2 days of observation. So this means that even if some children, for example, on a random month, spend time in very specific activities, when you have 1 day, you have a lot of zeros. And also for statistical reasons and also for convenience, we put all the educational categories together. But your point is really important. I agree. Sometimes the definition between educational activities within or outside school is not that clear. And again, our data doesn't really allow us to tease out these differences. So we should really know it through a more in-depth study. But what we can know is whether children are engaging in educational activities inside or outside the school. And we were looking at educational activities outside. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question.
Yes, you are. Just the point was just to see that, as Daniel was saying, if we add this time that is within the school, but is within the school day, because it's this extra time for these very early schools that we have before 9 in Spain, or after the school at 4:30 or 5, to expand in the end the school day, because I think it's just to expand the school day. I think it's a different nature and a different I think it makes a difference in the child, because it's still time that, as you said, spends in the institution, within the institution, when homework is another type of time, still dedicated to education, but at home, and where kids can be already with their parents, for instance. So I think it's interesting to see this difference. Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I see there is no more questions, and thank you very much.